We have Bill Leavitt joining us now from Bridgelight Financial Advisors. And Bill, thank you so much for being here. We are still trying to get on track with all of our goals for 2025. And we know retirement always, honestly, is a top priority. I don't care what age you are. Everyone is trying to make sure they are financially stable now and certainly in the future. So I'm glad to have you back on the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Melissa. How are you this morning?
You know, I can't complain. There's a lot of chaos around the world, and I feel blessed with what's going on just currently in my life, and that we're alive and well. So, yes, that's how I feel. That's how I feel this morning, Bill. That was a very loaded answer, but that's how I feel. You know, we count our blessings, right? So
absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. And you know, I think, you know, getting back to retirement savings goals, this is something that I really do think, regardless of people's ages, whether they are in their 30s, 40s, or maybe they are already nearing retirement, it's something that, you know, there's such uncertainty when it comes to saving properly. And, you know, I have to imagine this is a question you get, so I don't envy you with this answer, but how much should someone ideally save for retirement?
You know, it is an area that people, they struggle with. And, you know, it's the capacity to be able to save for retirement, but also live and manage your ongoing daily expenses. You know, will you have enough? How do you generate income when you get in retirement? These are all things that many people are concerned about. Mm-hmm. And so there are some pretty, hard and fast rules that I think are critical to achieving it, and then determining how much you should have. So let's start at the bottom, if you will.
Okay.
First off, obviously saving is important. My advice always is to try to save approximately 10% of your annual income, and do that systematically, either through some kind of retirement account, like a 401k if you have it at your employer, or you do something outside of it in some kind of retirement account, focusing on putting money into a Roth 401k. That'll be money that's going to be tax-free in the future. That's very important, you know, when I talk about a lot about that. And that gets people started, kind of started on the path, if you will. But to answer the question of how much is certainly one of the most important things, because, you know, if you listen to or read a lot of the experts or so-called experts, they always say you have to have X number of millions of dollars saved, right?
Right.
And that can be discouraging to people. You know, it really can. And there's also a rule about how much you can take out of retirement plans. They say there's this 4% rule. You can only take out 4% of your money every single year for it to last throughout your lifetime.
I was going to ask about that, Bill, and I don't know if you're allowed to debunk that, but is that a myth? Is that, to me, that's such a blanketed guideline for people, because that's like a cookie cutter approach essentially, but I don't know if you agree.
Well, very much so. You know, we look at each individual from their own perspective of what their lifestyle is going to be like in retirement, what they need in terms of income to meet their expenses, and then that determines how much really they need to save for retirement. But that doesn't also take into account the fact that people have Social Security, they may have a pension, they may have other sources of income. And so everyone is unique. So to determine exactly how much someone needs is very specific to them. And that, I think, is the important part of this.
Yeah.
You know, some people will live off of Social Security, and they don't touch their retirement savings that much. This is our experience from the people that we help. And so they don't need, the X number of millions that the experts say that they have. Other people don't have so many sources, or their expenses are higher, so they need to save more. And so it is a big determining factor of each individual. And also, when do they want to retire, right? Because some people want to retire earlier. Maybe they want to retire in their late 50s or early 60s. There's other people, and this is a big part of the population, they want to continue to work throughout their life. They'll work past 70. And I always say this to everybody that we talk with, you must have purpose in retirement.
Right.
So some people's purpose is to continue to work, and so they have continued income. And so it really is an individual factor, but it's very important to stay consistent, keep doing it, and don't stop to make sure that you are on the track that we're talking about.
So I love Bill Leavitt and his team. I happen to work with them personally, and what I love is that it's so hard too when you are so focused on just what's in front of you. So, I could talk about what my plans are with my husband in the future and everything, but sometimes you need, I think, a financial advisor to kind of pull you back and say, okay, but let's realistically let's crunch the numbers. And I mean, you talk about, Bill, how everyone is individual. I mean, I think probably one of the funniest moments in a recent meeting I had with you and your team was, okay, so what do you see retirement being like? And both my husband and I kind of were like, well, we're pretty simple people. We don't spend money on ourselves. We don't want better cars. We don't want a bigger home. We want to downsize. We want to live simply. And then you're like, okay, but let's dive into that. Do you travel at all? Do you have any hobbies? And we're like, oh, well, we love the Bruins and we love Disney. And yeah, we want to travel. You're like, yeah, okay, that costs money. And I'm like, oh, that's true. So there are so many avenues that you need to look at. And again, I make light of this, but I think it speaks to the truth of having a financial advisor. I mean, even just trying to figure out daily living expenses, your health care costs. I mean, not just the leisure activities, but there are a lot of things that, by the way, are kind of hard to calculate. I mean, when you talk about health care or daily living expenses, let's just look at the last few years with inflation. It's hard to navigate that. So how do you determine that?
Well, first of all, we know that living expenses have increased significantly, right? And these areas are some of the biggest pieces. Healthcare, just the cost of groceries and things is impacting a lot of people.
Insane.
But the first thing one has to do is take a look at what your core expenses are, right? The things that you need every day to manage your expenses, and then look at that number first, because we always want to make sure that retirement savings and retirement income can cover those things. And then we start to look at the other things that one wants to do, like you're talking, like Disney, right, and the Bruins, and or you want to travel, or you want to be able to, do some kind of special hobby, right, and then figure out what that's going to take to do it, because that's why you work so hard, right? You work so hard throughout your life. You save for retirement to be able to have the lifestyle that you want, right? That's kind of the vision we look at. We always sit down with people and say, what is your vision in life? Because your vision in life determines how you manage, maintain, and deal with wealth, because wealth should drive the purpose of your life.
Right, and that's just it. I think that's where it's so important to sit down with a financial advisor. I think there's not only such uncharted territory with, the future, like we don't know what things are going to cost, but I do think you need that perspective to really help you hone in on, how much should you be comfortably trying to save and what should you be pulling now? And I think the sooner the better to do that. And so, Bill, if people want to work with you and your team, they want more information, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, you can go up to our website, bridgelightadvisors.com, and connect with us there.
All right. Bill Leavitt, you know how much I adore you and your family and your whole team there at Bridgelight Financial Advisors. Thank you so much, and we will be in touch again very soon.
You're welcome, Melissa. Have a good day.
Thanks, you. You too. And again, this is our Financial Friday segment with Bill Leavitt of Bridgelight Financial Advisors right here on Melissa in the Morning. We'll be right back.